What's going on, everyone? Jack here from Half Chrome, and this is the Stone HS360S, and it is a foldable sub 250 gram quadcopter with a 4K camera. It has a range of about almost 2 miles. They say 10,000 feet, and these batteries are going to give you about 20 minutes of flight time. Now, I actually have a coupon code for 25% off. It's generally $190, but you're going to want to watch the full video before you make a decision like that. Stay tuned. So thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Half Chrome. If you haven't been here before, we review drones, e-bikes, lots of different electronic things. But the difference here is our reviews are going to be honest. I'm going to tell you what I like about this thing, but I'm also going to tell you what I don't like, things that you need to be aware of. And let's start with what I do like. It is nice that it's foldable, right? It just kind of folds up, back legs first, then the front legs, nice and compact. It comes with a carrying case. I can just kind of throw it right in here with the remote. This way. There we go. Folds up nicely with the remote. If I added extra batteries, they would go in this spots. Pretty solid. The remote actually is pretty nice as well. I do like the layout here. It's got a little screen. It's very similar to, say, the DJI remote, but very different as well. I'm not going to get a picture here. I put my phone right here on top, and that's where my video comes from. It does plug into my phone, so I don't have to connect it to my my phone to my drone via Wi-Fi. They just connect with the controller. We've got nice buttons laid out here, buttons up here, gimbal wheel, zoom wheel, nice remote. It says here on the bottom, ultralight 249 grams, and it is actually less than 250 grams, and that's a big deal because this drone, you don't have to register with the FAA, and it's not subject to remote ID. That's a law that's coming that's going to be applicable to all drones. They have to have this digital license plate. Most of them don't, and you can avoid all that fiasco if you buy a drone that's less than 250 grams, which this is. It has a handful of intelligent flight modes like return to home, that works well, orbit, follow me, a handful of different features. They're kind of hit or miss. That's kind of it for the things that I like about this drone. Let's talk about the cons. So first of all, it's very similar to this one that I reviewed. This is the Contico F28. Now this would actually be the F28 Pro. That's the comparable drone for this Stone HS360S. Now, companies like Stone, Contico, Holytone, DRC, all of those, they don't actually make drones. They buy them from companies like SJRC, which I believe is making this, and then they sell them on Amazon. Now, the good news is if you buy something on Amazon, you get the Amazon customer service, and Stone does have good customer service. I lied. I guess that's one more thing I like about this drone. And actually, with the 25% off coupon, that brings this thing under $150, and that's reasonable. And actually, sometimes you'll even see coupons that you can kind of click on. I'll show you. There is one for that. I don't know that you can use 25% off and that coupon, but it's worth a shot, and then it would absolutely be worth it. But when you're getting up around $300, there's generally a better option for you. But let's talk about this guy for now, the HS360S, and the things that I don't like. Well, the app is not great. I don't find it super intuitive. The modes, once you're in them, you have to go back to the mode switch to tap out. I wish there was just a cancel button. Now here I'm going to do the GPS follow. There are 2 different follow modes with this drone, but this is the only one that works. And you can kind of see when I mentioned the app being glitchy, there's no telemetry data here at the bottom where it says D&H. It should be my distance and height. Up at the top, it should tell me like, hey, you're in GPS follow mode, and tell me more about the satellites. And the app was consistently inconsistent. Sometimes that worked, and right here, as you can see, it didn't. And actually, it's not following me this time, right? So we're gonna set her down, and we're gonna try it again, and it will work the second time. Okay, so I landed the drone, and now it's gonna take off. And as you can see here, now I do have some of that telemetry data. Up, and it looks like it disappeared up at the top again, partially. you know, it's just kind of goofy. But there you go. Now GPS follow. You see the information at the top. You see the information at the bottom, and it is going to follow me. But as you can see inside the app, it's going to be shaking a little bit. Now I can still kind of control the altitude, but I don't have full control over the drone while it's in this GPS follow mode. The thing that I found a little bit goofy, to get it back out of GPS follow mode, there isn't a stop button, as you can see on the screen. You just kind of have to tap the icon of whatever it is that mode is that you're trying to do here. In this case, it's that follow mode. So just kind of keep that in mind. That was a little bit frustrating for me. Because I'd like to see a dedicated stop button, right? You don't want to have to remember, like, oh, there's a tree there. How do I stop? Oh, yeah, it's this random button of the guy in the drone there. Kind of goofy. You can see some of the other flight modes here. The active track, that first button, absolute joke, doesn't work. VR, you put in goggles and see it. You've got an orbit. You've got up and away. We're going to do an up and away here. We've got a rocket. Then they have some gesture modes. Gosh, you know, I don't know why. I wouldn't bother, right? Don't bother with the gesture modes. You've got waypoints, which are kind of cool. But, you know, the big mode here that you really want is that return to home, and that works, right? That's the one that's going to make sure that you're going to be able to get your drone back to you if something happens. And I tested it out. It's not perfect, but it's solid enough. So here's the active track, right? You kind of select yourself, and it's supposed to follow you, but it doesn't. Like, it doesn't turn the drone at all, right? It's kind of drifting away from me as I walk, and it loses you. That's exactly what happens every single time. It's not going to find you again. It's just kind of a big old waste, I would say. Skyfly is kind of cool. That's just going to go straight up. I like to point the camera down when I do one of those. You'll see here, and then, you know, fly to the sky, and then it's just gonna rise straight up. But again, with that shaky camera, which I'll talk about in a minute, you know, not gonna be the best. The camera itself isn't very good. It does shoot in 4K, but it's 4K 20 frames a second, and that's really too slow and jittery. I recommend you go back to the 2K at 30 frames, or maybe it's 25. Either way, that's your best bet, the lower resolution, and that's still full HD. But this camera here, this is not a gimbal. The footage is going to be super shaky, and it's just not going to look good. This thing is essentially a toy, right? This is a toy grade drone, and it's not bad for about 150 bucks or less than if you're using the coupon code in the description down below. But I think there might be better options. You know, the app just kept disconnecting on me. I couldn't actually use, I have a Contigo F28 battery, which fits, but it's bigger, right? So they actually made a smaller battery on this to reduce the flight time to get it under 250 grams, which is nice. But those other batteries, they're not going to be compatible with this. So you're going to have to find additional batteries for this guy in order for it to fly. But I think the camera is kind of the most important part of a drone, and I don't like the camera on this guy. It's not stabilized. The horizons are rounded. It just, you know, it's subpar. It's toy grade, and if you're just looking for something to fly, less than $150, it's an okay option. I would still, as you see here, I've got a ton of other mini drone options that you could opt for. And I like this guy here. This is a C-Fly Faith Mini. It's about $190, and you get a full 3-axis gimbal here, which means it's going to stabilize your footage. It still has some of those intelligent flight modes, and overall it's a much better drone for just a little bit more money. Now, it's not professional grade quality. I think the best bet for really good footage is something like this, the Mini 2 SE. That's about $330. Yes, more expensive, but the app is going to work better. It's going to be a much better camera. And everything just super smooth with this guy. And then, of course, if you want a mini drone that you don't have to register with the FAA remote ID, this one here, the Mini 3 Pro. This is awesome, right? You can get away with professional grade stuff on this, and I think actually if you're pretty careful, you can do it with the Mini 2, depending on what you're trying to do there. But the Mini 3 Pro, awesome. Follow me, obstacle avoidance, 47-minute flight time, but that one's going to cost you over $600, $700, $900, depending on which package you get. Anyway, So Holy Stone HS360S, it's decent if it's less than 150 bucks. But there are other options out there. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. Good luck everyone and happy flying.